etc. And key to this and central to it is actually the element of digital skills, specifically advanced digital skills. And this is where we come in. So we started in October. We have a short lifetime. We'll be finishing up in March. But really our role is to try and map what is going to be the future demand of advanced digital skills. And we base this very much on tech trends and tech adoption as a theory. We're looking at how we can then build specific guidelines for how these can actually be reached. What's the best method? What are the best ways? And how can that actually guide what is quite a significant amount of money being put into this area, around 570 million euro over the next 4 years now, since we started in that way. And then also looking at how we can build an ecosystem around this, because advanced digital skills are different and are special. And that's something that we want to make sure that we have taken account for here. We also have associated projects with us that are specialized master's courses. So there are 8 in total. Some of them are looking at broader areas in terms of the technologies they look at, while some are taking a sector focus in that way. If you're interested in engaging further, we can talk a bit more about those. And that's the portfolio of specialized masters that are ongoing at the moment and have just started in the last few months. And really what we're doing, and I think I've already covered this, is looking at how we can detect those main trends. So we've got 3 elements that we're looking at within the project. We've got the first part, which is this study, and our colleague Leo will give you the first piece of that, how we can look at where the trends are going and what's the different needs that are going to be there. The second thing we're doing is how we can actually build those relationships with those master's programs and also with the general community around. And for example, we're working closely with the Quantum Flagship, with the Cloud Edge IoT initiative, and with other such areas such as Data Space Support Center to able to realize this. And the last part, I think this is where this activity comes in, is how we can actually build those guidelines and roadmap and make them practical in that way. I won't go into detail here. I think there's too much for the time I have, but just to give you an overview, we sit right here in the middle, Education and Training Workshop Series. This is the first one, and congratulations to the team for kicking this off. And really what we're looking for to get out of these is, guidance and recommendations. We're looking for the practical elements. We're looking at how we can build those effective learning programs, where are the opportunities for collaboration between industry, education and training bodies for upskilling and reskilling demands. How can we make the programs that are developed more attractive for students, and also what the students come away with more relevant and more applicable to what industry is actually demanding to be able to adopt these technologies, and retaining those talented educators and trainers. How do we build that future pipeline, as well as supporting industry to identify where it's best to invest and how can you actually work for the greater good, but also to develop their own talent security in the future. And Leo is going to talk about this in a second, but just an advance warning, in the next couple of weeks, we'll be publishing our first data report, and Leo will probably go through this in some detail, where you'll be able to see some of the future demands that we're seeing for specific skills areas, and also an addressing of some of the challenges that we have within certain technology areas. And just say, I look forward to a great session today, and thank you all very much for organizing and participating.
Thank you, Brendan. So, well, let's give the floor now to Leo. So, Leo Freitas, please, you have access to sharing the screen. Thank you.
Sorry, I was having technology issues. Can you hear me now? Can you see the screen as well?
Perfectly well, and also the screen.
Perfect, thank you. So hi everyone. First of all, thank you for your time. I'm Leonardo Freitas, you can call me Leo, and I head up the European Skills Practice at IDC. So IDC is a tech research and advisory company, and we've been tasked together with our great partners as well to establish the grounds for the LEADS project here with the research and modeling, right? So with the time that I have, I'll try to briefly explain to you how this project worked and what we were tasked to do. At the beginning, we all started with the first task, which was to establish the framework of different skills and job roles related to advanced digital skills for certain technology areas. I mean, we had many discussions about this previously until we got to the final results. We focused on certain technology areas that we were covering with the project scope, and technology areas that are actually relevant to the IT and ICT industry. So there are 3 major elements that we cover in the first framework. The first framework basically has the definitions of the skills that we're covering for this project that were gathered during the first months of the project. So it's a mix of, so these skills are under certain technology areas, and they are related to job roles as well that comes from our taxonomy, right? Our taxonomy is was basically built by looking at different official taxonomies and different job roles that are relevant within the ICT landscape that might have or might need to acquire those skills to perform certain tasks within this technology areas. And it was basically a cross-check of different information. And most of this information as well comes from our proprietary data. So we looked, for example, at different use cases that are related to certain advanced skills that are needed for by the industry, so the market can develop. All right. I just wanted to show you the final results of what we have as different skills pockets. So just a first overview. We in the LEADS framework includes 80 different skills details within clouds, business intelligence, data science, security technologies, quantum, AI, and IoT, right? Those 80 skills details, they're grouped by 30 different skills pockets. So we have 2 layers of different of skills measuring here. And the layered measuring was actually done so we can also support other work packages within LEADS for data collection, because we're also looking not only at the industry aspect and how the industry is developing those skills and demanding those skills to perform their work, but also what is being taught at higher education and tertiary education level to support the upskilling of these employees, right? So just for you to have an idea of how the framework was drafted, this work is already published, so I believe it's already available for download. So you can see all the definitions of those skills and job roles that are covered within LEADS. It's important to mention that we needed to make a distinction as well about standard digital skills and advanced digital skills for this project. We are only looking at skills that are difficult to be upskilled, difficult to be acquired, right? So this was one of the main scope limitations that we did as well. So we could actually start our data collection, right? Because otherwise our framework would be infinite. So I would recommend you to take a look at this first report that has been published before, just for you to have an idea of what is covered behind those skills as well, and what the definition of the skills are. And once we had the framework ready, we started working on the modeling. So what does that mean? I'll show you. If you look at the upper side of this table, right? That's where the framework is where we basically define everything that's being covered on the project. Behind those skills, as I mentioned before, we are looking at different industry use cases, right? So we looked at around 200 different use cases at IDC as well and elsewhere. Those use cases are basically related to how industry is spending on different services, hardware and software for certain technology areas. And those specific use cases, they need skills to support its development, right? So our groundwork here was to understand the main tasks of different use cases. So let's say in healthcare, in different industries, so finance, healthcare, agriculture, and also IT related tasks. So we could actually draft that first list. The interesting thing about those use cases is we publish trackers with expenditure behind these. So we used expenditure and also market development for technology pockets as a proxy, so we could understand the development and the demand for those skills, right? So we're basically in the middle of the table right now. We're publishing now the draft of the demand assessment and forecasting, where we were able to link those use cases and the expenditure and other KPIs from these use cases to these skills to establish a first demand assessment and understand, for example, comparatively, which of these skills are going to develop quicker than others, right? On top of all the desk research we did and proprietary information from IDC that we analyzed, we're also launching a survey now where we're going to ask the industry directly, so firsthand, how they're perceiving, for example, the recruitment and upskilling of certain advanced skills. So where the bottlenecks are, where the current gaps are, so we can incorporate this information in our final analysis, right? The survey will be done with over 800 respondents. It's Europe-wide. So we have samples for more than 15 countries representing the biggest economies in Europe. And we're talking to professionals, so experts in those skills, HR professionals as well, who are responsible for the recruitment of personnel with those skills, right? And with this information, we're hoping to enhance our model beyond just the secondary research and proprietary data that we have. To confirm all this work that we've developed as well, we've run several workshops last year as well with experts to understand whether the coverage of the skills that we have and the use cases that we're using was correct. So we had a round of workshops in December. We also had several talks with different industry experts and academic leaders as well in January, February. And now finally we're getting to kind of the final stage of this first pillar of leads, right? More importantly as well, so on top of the modeling that we're building with the forecast and demand analysis, we're going to work in partnership with Work Package 2, and I'll briefly explain to you what they're doing. So they're collecting data from different courses and programs at universities and also tertiary education to understand if the topics and the advanced skills that we're covering on Work Package 1 are being touched on at higher education and other education courses as well. So for us, it's important to understand, one, if the industry is demanding those skills, and two, if those skills are being already addressed in different education courses, right? So as a result of the analysis that we had so far with the modeling, so basically crossing those use cases, looking at different secondary sources, different competences framework, we've reached a stage where we can already publish some data on the development of certain skills. As Brendan showed, and as you can see, it's more or less the same slide, we can already make a distinction of skills that are going to grow faster over the next years, and some skills that will still grow, but at a slower pace. So for example, we've identified so far that skills related to AI and data analysis and also cloud are going to be very prominent over the next 5 years. These are all linked to specific use cases that are basically driving the uptake of the skills and already generating some skills gaps in the present time, right? As I mentioned before, we have 2 layers of skills, right? So for example, on the left-hand side, we have those 30 skills pockets that I showed on the 3rd slide of this presentation. But we're also looking at details of those skills. So for example, if we look at application development, which is the fastest growing skills pocket, right? We can see which of the detailed skills are going to grow the fastest, for example. So when you talk about development and deployment, lifecycle management, natural language processing, these are very prominent skills within that skills group. I highly recommend you, once the project is, once this report is published, that you take a look at it. And if you have any questions, you come to us as well, but we can explain it better. Okay. And just to wrap up, I know I'm a bit out of time. Some of the key deliverables that we had so far in Work Package 1. So as I mentioned, the framework and scoping report with all the definitions, the validation workshops, the preliminary data assessment and modeling for the use cases approach that's been done, and the kickoff of the survey, right? What you can expect next is the draft demand assessment and forecast report, which is going to be published very soon. Then the final report over the next months with already the survey data incorporated on it. So a more robust analysis coming on top of what we're just going to publish right now. And also the gap analysis between work package 1 and package 2, which is to look at the demand from the industry of those skills and also what is being taught at university and other training courses, right? And that's me for today. If you have any questions, please let me know, and you can drop me a line on email as well afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you, Leo. This has been very, very nice just as an introduction. So now we go just to start with a short presentation from our speakers. So we are going first just to see, well, I think yeah, okay, so we will have today, well, a very nice, I mean, we are just very thankful just for our speakers, Gonzalo Gómez Lardíez, Kieran McCorry, and Juan José Moreno, that will be just giving us all these inputs after this presentation of the project and after this presentation of the problems and challenges. They will give us their views. So we are going to give the floor to Gonzalo Gómez Lardíez to start from. He comes from Inetum, but he has 17 years of professional experience in the fields of corporate strategy, consultancies, and business development, all from the technological perspective. From 2020, he is in the Inetum Group Chief Marketing Officer, where among other tasks, he is analyzing the 27 European countries, market trends in the global areas, and help business lines and sectors to make real their go-to-market strategies. He has also experience in academia, where he is responsible for the digital banking and fintech postgraduate program at the International University of La Rioja. So Gonzalo, the floor is yours. Thank you very much for being here today. Thank you. You can start sharing your screen if you want.
I think you already see my screen, no?
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you, Ernestina. Thank you, Brendan. Thank you, Leo, also for your inputs. Very, very faithful for, I guess, for the speech, for the workshop. If I may, let me first. I am not a representative of a sector, but as I came from the consulting sector. I have been in the consulting sector since I left University Polytechnic of Madrid with Ernestina, with Anna, among other teachers. I would like to bring some in these 10 minutes that I have, at least for my slot. Then we will discuss all together in the group discussion some context regarding the consulting industry, because I guess it's we have some overview, we are going to have some inputs regarding also to the academia, but I guess it's also very helpful to understand exactly the context about what some kind of companies, because it's just one sector that we have, but it's a huge sector. For example, in Spain, in 2021, the consulting industry employed more than 230,000 professionals, which is more than 12% more than last year. And this number of employees in this industry, in the consulting industry, has not stopped growing since 2004, especially during the pre-pandemic years. This significant increase in the workforce that you can see on the screen proves the importance of talent for our consulting firms, and the fundamental role in making the change in both in this new digital area and these new challenges that Brendan and Leo were speaking before. In addition, I guess it's worth to highlight that almost 30% of these new contracts were signed with recent university graduates without prior job experience. And I guess that for this debate today, for this workshop, is so important to highlight. And another year again, consulting firms, our sector, demonstrate the commitment that we have to help young talent enter the job market, and in a context, as we saw before, of continuously high job unemployment. For example, in Spain, according to the Spanish national statistics, we have 30% of those under the age of 25 years were unemployed. So that's even more important with this information. Considering the type of work involved, consulting firms, our type of sectors, hire the most qualified professional in the job market. Almost 62% of the industry employees have a university background, which is quite above the average in Spain. So that's also an important fact to highlight during this conversation. Talking more about the university graduates, technology backgrounds are predominant among consulting industry professionals. Almost 70% of the university graduates come from STEM fields. By gender, there's a high percentage of men who have graduated in STEM, almost 74%, versus the 59, sorry, for women, which I guess is a high good reminder that initiatives must continue to be carried out to promote technology vocations. And I know that we are doing, all of us, we are doing among girls and young women for that. Even still, and due to the great variety of services provided for the consulting firms, we require professionals with all type of degrees. That's why almost 25% of the men and 42% of the women in the industry have backgrounds different from the university degrees from other areas, but both in science and humanity. As a highlight for this slide, nearly 70% of university graduates in the sector come from STEM fields. Aware of the importance of the human capital that have for this industry, consulting firms are making such a big effort each year to attract and to retain the best professionals. Doing so, we are constantly investing in our employees, training, updating the knowledge, and adapting their skills to the market needs. That's the core of our conversation today. Just to give you some facts, investment in 2021, because it's the last closure year that has been analyzed for this sector, the investment in training total almost 80 million euros, which is 60% more than the previous year, and it's 120% more than 2014. Another year again, this figure is quite higher than the average for other sectors in the Spanish economy. I guess it's worth noting that there has been more specialized training in recent years in technologies like, and Brendan and Leo has appointed some of them: big data analytics, cloud computer, artificial intelligence, and those associated with cybersecurity, specifically around 40% of those technology, with the remaining hours dedicated to other cross-training or supplementary training and the development of these skills needed to guarantee a successful customer experience for our clients. And let me give you 3 or more other inputs. In addition to the inputs that Brendan and Leo share with us regarding those skills, in addition to these degrees and certifications and technology knowledge and experience, our sector consulting firms, and that's an interview that we did with all the sector of the consulting in Spain, and you can see from the results, value various soft skills that bring added value to the services that we render for our clients. This includes, and here you can see the difference between the importance from the companies and the presence in candidates. As you can see, it's not so high, but there is also some still room for improvement. But this includes capacity of learning, teamwork, being customer and results oriented, ability to take the initiative and be proactive, ability to adapt to new situations, and capacity for analysis and problem resolution. And I guess also it's important to share in this workshop that apart from other hard skills of academia, things, that there are other things that, and I guess honestly, I think that in university, all these soft skills is the best way to produce them and to test them, because it's the best way to, or it's the best area to develop and to test these soft skills before to join to the enterprise environment. As you can see in the graph, you can see, as I said, how important companies believe these different skills and their presence in candidates are. The results indicate that professionals generally fulfill the requirements that industry demands, but yet, as I said, there is still room for improvement in adapting these candidates' skills to the company needs. On the skills analysis, as I said, there is a great room for improvement, and you can see in the graph, in some of the skills such as customer-oriented, resource-oriented, or be able to adapt to other situations. And we are working with the university, with academia, consulting firms collaborate on a yearly basis with higher education institutions in order to adjust professional training to the market needs. And if I may, ongoing innovation with consulting firms is essential to staying at the forefront of technology or for others of it, that those areas that Brendan and Leo were talking before, in order to be able to handle present and future challenges. In 2021, for example, our industry earmarked 4.5 of its revenue for innovation, which is equivalent to almost 800 million euros. The investment made in research, in innovation, in training, make it possible for us, for consulting firms, to be able to successfully complete digitalization projects requiring the use of the most cutting-edge technology and methods. Specifically, for example, consulting firms generate nearly 40% of our revenue in projects requiring proficiency in emerging technologies, as we spoke before, regarding cloud computing, big data analytics, social media, mobile device, Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, work automation, robotics, or blockchains. Also about methodology, about agile design thinking and lead methods. And that was for the last for this. Let me stop sharing. I can see more screens. I guess Ernestina was good. I don't know what do you think, but to share with you some of the context. I have a lot of other input that I would like to discuss with you in the other slot, but I thought it was good to give you some context regarding what exactly the consulting firms, our sector, that is one of the biggest in Spain, and the ones that did taking students for university, as I saw you before in the graph, and the impact that they have in our development.
Definitely, it has been great, Gonzalo. Thanks a lot, and we are just expectant just for this roundtable. So let's go now very quickly. Also, quickly enough to see our next speaker, that is Kieran McCorry. That he is the National Technology Officer for Microsoft in Ireland, and he has worked in the technology industry for over 30 years. He works across many sectors of the technology landscape, including those of analytics, Internet of Things, AI, cybersecurity, and quantum computing, as well as other like innovation, digital transformation, or collaboration. He belongs to several industry boards and government forums focused on technology skills, development, and strategic planning. So, Kieran, the floor is yours, and glad to have you here. Thank you.
Ernestina, thank you very much, and thank you all for the opportunity to speak. Ernestina, if you may, screen sharing seems to be disabled for me, so if you might enable.
No, you should have it enabled. No.
I get a message to say host disabled participant screen sharing.
Try now, please.
Okay.
Maybe. Is it okay?
Oh yeah, I've got it now. Thank you.
Sorry for that. Thank you.
That's okay. That's perfect. To be honest, I'm not that familiar with Zoom. We tend to use Teams in Microsoft, and so it may well be my fault as much as anything else. But just bear with me 1 second. Should be in presentation mode now, I hope. Can you see it okay? Yeah, okay, great. Like I said, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak. I'll try to use my 10 minutes wisely. In a prep call, we thought it might be a good idea to just give a little bit of context around Microsoft in Ireland and the types of skills. We're quite a unique location in Ireland across the corporation. Maybe just give an indication of the types of operations very briefly that we have and how that fits into the types of skills, A, we need internally within the company, but B, we also try to drive in the market. So I suppose just, you know, from the perspective of Microsoft in Ireland, we're a very diverse location. We have somewhere in the region of, you know, just over 2,500 people that work in Microsoft in Ireland alone, with a different breakdown across the different types of businesses. Microsoft in Ireland is a very unique location. It's the only location outside of Microsoft's headquarters in Redmond where we have all of the functions. We have the normal commercial operations of a subsidiary company. We have have global operations and corporate operations and order processing. We have an engineering group, the European Development Center. Some, but not all of the functionality that we hope you enjoy in the various Office products is engineered here in Microsoft Ireland in Dublin. We have sales organizations across Europe with 60 or so different nationalities. And we also have a large data center presence. So quite a diverse set of operations. That's not the entirety of the footprint of Microsoft in Ireland, because as you probably know, LinkedIn is a Microsoft wholly owned subsidiary. They too have about 2,500 people. So overall, the Microsoft footprint in Ireland is quite diverse and up to around 5,000 people. Just in terms of some of the focus that we have, we're very much focused on, as you can see in this kind of set of objectives for what we try to do from a corporate perspective, with a special regard to skills. We're very much focused on being the right kind of employer, an employer of choice. We're very much focused on growing the business, not just in commercial terms, but in developing new products and developing the right opportunities for people to develop both within the company and be an attractive place to work. And I suppose also very much tied into skills, we've quite a number of programs that are focused around societal impact, and I'll come back to talk about those in a moment, specifically around digital skills and sustainability. So if I were to jump into it and say, these are the sort of core focus areas that we're, I suppose, how we go about driving the skills agenda for Microsoft in Ireland, it sort of breaks down as presented on this slide. And I think it's important to reflect on the types of skills that we want to encourage and which we see demand for in the market. I give you an overview of our operations because obviously we hire technical talent into the company. So there's specific skills that we're looking for. And I've mentioned some of them in that second bullet point, the sub-bullet in that second bullet point. But essentially we're, like many multinational technology companies, we're more interested in seeing those skills developed out broadly amongst our partner base and amongst our customer base. So many of our efforts in terms of skills development are focused on development of skills in the ecosystem, not necessarily for people coming into work in Microsoft, but for people that are leveraging our technologies and our tools and our platforms. And if I were to break it down, just reflecting on Leo's sort of key points that he focused on in I suppose, the first session, these are the current skills areas where we're seeing the most focus. That's around artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, quantum computing, which is very new and emerging and nowhere near yet mainstream, but we see a lot of organizations already starting to dip their toe into the water about the promise that quantum computing might bring. And data science. And I jumped to data science because I was interested in Leo's breakdown of standard skills versus advanced skills. So AI, cyber, quantum, data science are the advanced skills that we're seeing the demand for. We also see a lot of demand for what I suppose may not be defined as advanced skills, broad skills around sustainability, and this notion of low code, no code platforms where you don't need to have a degree in mathematics or physics or computer science to become a coder to develop useful business applications for a company. In fact, there's a huge push in the industry globally for these so-called low code, no code solutions where you can use tools, drag and drop platforms to build business process and workflow applications. So we see a huge actually increase in this demand. I suppose to give effect to the way that we try to help address the demand signals around these focus areas, there are a number of things that we do as a large corporate to help develop that ecosystem of talent and that pipeline. Microsoft is very much focused on a range of sponsorship programs in Ireland. We do this globally, but I can really only speak from the Irish perspective. We support quite a few PhD students on the island of Ireland. At any one time, we're generally supporting somewhere between 80 and 100 PhD students across a number of different academic institutions. Those PhD programs tend to focus on those skills areas I've identified below, often data science, AI, cybersecurity. So that sponsorship program is pretty significant. We also engage closely with different types of educational environments to promote other types of training. So, for example, we would work very closely with further and higher education organizations to develop specific programs for training in cybersecurity, maybe not as particularly advanced in terms of academic level and maybe a little bit more vocationally focused. But again, this is to reflect the demand signals that we see in the market. So we're generally working on maybe 3 or 4 of those programs at any one particular point in time. More recently, just to finish up on, because I guess I'll soon be out of time. More recently, we have seen a lot of interest in the market, and it's reflected within Microsoft as well, of trying to hire from atypical backgrounds, I suppose. So these are programs where maybe the multinational tech companies like ourselves or our partners or even our customers are becoming, maybe surprisingly or maybe not, less interested in the someone graduating with a degree in computer science or data science or mathematics, and more interested in looking at creativity and innovation from other ways. So we're seeing a lot of interest, and we have developed a number of hiring programs ourselves that look for new talent coming from non-standard backgrounds. So maybe people that are coming from disadvantaged backgrounds in some way, maybe people that have been out of the working environment for some time due maybe to maternity or paternity or something like that. They're looking to return to the workforce, but they maybe haven't been working for 5 to 10 years. So we see a lot of focus around this, and we have operated these programs now for a couple of years, and they've been hugely successful for us. And programs also, generally when we look to these people, they wouldn't immediately kind of fit the demographic of, oh, this is a perfect person to hire into the tech space, because often we're not even looking for someone that has a technology background. We might be looking for a graduate in an arts discipline or humanities, but we're looking for people that are innovative, that are creative. And in the vast number of cases, we find them to be massively able people to come on and pick up even very technical challenges. So that's a big focus area for us. And then just finally, in terms of our own internal training and hiring, we do a lot of in-company development. And I suppose maybe this is a little bit immodest to say this, but to some extent, I think we're very lucky in Microsoft, and it's the same for some of our other peer companies, the large tech multinationals, is that we have probably more demand for people coming to work for us than we have demand in terms of saying we need people in these disciplines. So we're perhaps very, very fortunate there, but we recognize that out in the broader market, this is not the case. And I would just reflect back on those key areas of AI, cyber, and data science especially are the areas I think where we're going to see the most demand and the most growth over the next 5 or so years. We've already seen it, and it's just going to go in one direction. So I'll pause there and allow you to hand over to the next speaker, and I'll be happy to pick the rest of it up in the discussion session. I'm better under interrogation than I am when I'm just delivering a monologue, so I can give you some more insights later. Thank you.
Well, you're already very good, Kieran, don't worry.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Kieran. It has been great. And well, let's go for our last speaker so we can just start the conversation and the debate. So our next speaker is Professor Juanjo Moreno, and Juanjo Moreno is full professor at the Computer Science Department at Universidad Politécnica de Madrid, as well as senior researcher of the INDIA Software, Madrid Research Institute in Software Development Technologies. He has long research history which has been combined with an extensive work as policymaker from 2008, where among other roles, he has been General Director of Planning and Coordination of the Ministry of Science and Innovation, General Director of University Policy, from the Ministry of Education, and he has also been Vice Rector of Digitalization and Academic Planning and Doctorate Studies at the UPM. So, well, I'm not going to take more time. Thank you, Juanjo, for being here. The floor is yours. No.
Okay. So, good morning, and let me hand the project to invite me to share with you my impression about this fascinating topic. I'm working in the university for almost 40 years, where I have not only developed research, but cooperation and technology transfer with a number of companies. But I have been on the other side of the road, participating in several European committees and working, as Ernestina mentioned, for the government at the time of the Bologna reform. In particular, my signature formalized most of the system degree adapted to the European higher education area. In order to motivate the problem, and probably being a bit provocative, let me establish how hard is the life of an IT professor or a computer science department. I have collected the contents of the degrees of chemistry and computer science 30 years ago. And I have marked in red the difference with current contents. So you have a look to chemistry. There are some new things about nuclear chemistry or polymers or atomic spectroscopy, but not too much. I mean, they're quite similar in both cases. But if you have a look to the computer science contents, you know that there are a lot of differences. Many new things that we need to teach. We're almost teaching the same in some other areas. In particular, I'm teaching programming language and programming, and you can see the number of programming languages. So an incredible number of them. So I can imagine that in chemistry or in physics or in economy or history, I have the same result for all these other areas. Well, there are more novelties in labs, in methods and machines, but the magnitude of changes in computer science is colossal. So we need to deal with it. So as you know, technology evolved very fast and related to the society. And I used to make it evident by showing two pictures with less than 10 years of difference in the Vatican with the election of two popes. So you can see the universities are wonderful in many aspects, but sometimes are late in incorporating changes. They do in a very consistent way, but maybe late. So it is wonderful to discuss how to celebrate it in this workshop. Thank you.
Thank you, Juanjo. So now, well, let's go for the debate. So now the floor is for Lauren, that is going to lead this debate that I am sure that this discussion that we are going to have. The floor is yours.
Yeah,
Lauren.
thank you. You can stop sharing because I have no slides. This is more like for everyone to be on the profile. And thank you, all of you, for joining us today. So yes, the purpose of today's is really to have a conversation, and I think we had a very good introduction. Certainly from Brandon and Leo. But Leo, you started by telling us and showing the extent to which the skills that are in need today, some of them are going to be even more in need tomorrow. And I think some of the slides that you have shown there were quite striking. And then I think, we had Gonzalo there telling us about the extent to which not only advanced digital skills are needed, but also more maybe soft skills. And I in your presentation, Gonzalo, you've insisted quite a lot about the need for some of those, consumer-orientated consulting type of soft skills. And then Kieran just insisted on the idea that like we needed, that there was some specific needs in some specific area, and bounce back on Leo's presentation on the need for specific skills in AI, cybersecurity, quantum, and things like that. And finally, we have one there that briefly expressed the fact that that's going to lead me to my question, is the fact that, well, those evolution are very quick. They touch on multiple domains, advanced, soft, data science, which is like a digital skills, but maybe less advanced. And so the big question is, how can we keep up? And so my first question maybe is for the people from the industry there is, first of all, to kind of already bridge the gap between the first work package and the second work package. How difficult do you find it to recruit and fulfill jobs that are linked to advanced digital skills? Just like a general statement on that. And the second aspect is, as of today, how do you manage, assuming that you have some difficulties and some gap, I just don't want to preempt on your answer, how do you currently manage that gap? And what kind of mechanism have you put in place internally for managing these possible shortcomings? And of course, everyone, especially Leo, if you want to intervene, you're also welcome. And anyone can obviously have a go at the conversation. And we might open to the floor if you have questions. Everyone is more than welcome and provide input. Thank you very much. So who wants to start with this? How difficult it is to recruit? Do you have an advanced digital skill issue? How do you go about solving it as it is right now? Who will provide the training, and how do you solve that issue? Kieran, you want to start?
Sure, happy to. Thank you very much. I'll be brief, and then I'll give everyone else a chance. So just to pick up on one of the skills that we focused on, and Leo focused on as well, on cybersecurity, for example, right? In Ireland, globally, or in the Irish cybersecurity market, cybersecurity jobs are probably running at about 80% of capacity, right? There's a shortage of about 20% or thereabouts of people to run and operate in those jobs. This is a huge challenge for a lot of companies. I can't give you a brilliant answer to the question, Laurent, in terms of how do we address it, but I will describe some of the problems, right? Certainly what we see in terms of what academia delivers is that there's maybe a little bit of a disconnect between what industry needs and what academia is offering. Not a huge one, but there's a disconnect. Just when you get into the specifics around cybersecurity, around data science, for example. So it's relatively easy to go and do a general degree in computer science or something like that. But there's a lot of capacity for that in the academic system. But when you then look to specialize, there aren't that many MSc programs in cybersecurity. There aren't that many MSc programs in data science, for example. So over the last number of years, we've seen the environment, the ecosystem get better to fill that gap, but there is still more headroom in terms of what needs to be done. I think if you look at the medical profession, for example, and there's a lot of parallels, you do basic medical training for 5 years in medical school, then 2 or 3 years in foundation training, and then you choose a specialism. Into how you can accelerate or advance those kinds of gaps. So what we have done in Microsoft is that we have specifically and gone out and funded academic institutions to deliver courses in cybersecurity, in AI, very much tailored around what we're looking for within Microsoft and what we're looking for with respect to our customers using our technology. But that's quite niche and it's quite narrow because it's focused on what Microsoft is looking for. It's not necessarily looking at what the industry is looking for. So for me, there's a slight disconnect, and although the gap is decreased, I think there more needs to be done in terms of specialism.
Okay, that's an interesting point, and I'm going to bounce back on what you're saying before I ask the other speakers to provide, like, specifically. So specifically, how do you go about like those programs? Like, so are they master's programs that are provided in this area, or just like short credited program? What type of institution do you partner? Is it IT? Is it like professional bodies?
Yeah, they would tend to be less sharp academically and more focused around vocational training. So we generally often wouldn't put all of our eggs in the basket of let's fund a master's program. We're probably more interested in funding postgraduate programs at like diploma level, postgraduate diplomas or postgraduate certificates or something like that that are maybe focused around AI or data science. So that tends to be the area that we go after. And if you think back to my talk in terms of looking for people from slightly atypical backgrounds, that tends to work as well, right? The cost of entry for those programs is maybe a little bit more achievable, not just in financial terms, but also in academic history as well, occasionally. And also there's often a nice tie-in, Laurent, you'll probably be familiar with it, at least with state-funded programs like Springboard, for example, where the government will pay up to 95% of the fees for people that are taking these courses. So no, the short answer to your question is tends not to be postgraduate MSc level, but it tends to be postgraduate diploma or certificate, or maybe just even undergraduate.
And I guess one of the advantage of that format is that it allows you to hire not only people from different backgrounds who may not have a primary degree as you describe it from a university, but also who are already in the workforce and need just like a couple of credits in order to get trained and are not willing to engage into a full suite of modules that takes the part of a master study. Yeah,
absolutely correct. And I think it also gives us a little bit more control over the content that's delivered, because there isn't as much focus on I need to get these ECTS credits to 160 for this or 100 for that. It tends to be more focused on we're actually looking for people that we can set to work quickly, right? It tends much more practical focused than theoretically focused.
Yeah. No, very good, Kieran. Gonzalo, Leonardo, don't know if you want to jump in, Gonzalo. Or Leonardo, sorry, whoever wants to go first.
Yeah, I can go first. Well, no, thanks, Kieran, for the explanations. Very, very interesting. And I mean, researching skills within IDC is kind of my bread and butter as well. And I work with a lot of different corporate clients. And one of the bottlenecks I see, and we see here from the corporate side, for example, is the lack of planning behind acquiring those skills as well. There's a study that we run each year called MaturityScape at IDC, where we assess how ready companies are and how robust their learning and development activities are as well. And the highest level of robustness, we call it like future-oriented approach to upskilling and reskilling. This is the level where companies, for example, have a solid mapping of the requirements that they will need, not for projects that are happening right now, but for projects that are happening in 2, 3, 5 years. And very few companies, not only in Europe, but we also do that in North America, for example, are ready to actually do this mapping of future requirements for recruitment and for upskilling, right? And that culminates into the bottlenecks that we see nowadays, because if a certain company is hiring people or upskilling people for a project that is happening right now, that will create bottlenecks. It takes time to acquire skills, right? It takes time to acquire technical skills. It takes time to find the right people with the cultural fit to a certain company. So if companies do not take that step ahead of looking at the future and thinking, okay, what am I going to adopt in the next years? How can I prepare my workforce now for future projects? How can I fit that into their working schedule? The bottlenecks will keep coming. And an additional part of it is the communication between the enterprise side and the other stakeholders, right? The government to foment policies on education, to actually replenish that workforce going forward, to attract enough people to, for example, the sector of focus here for me, IT. So I think there's more to do in terms of stakeholder communication there, so the message is conveyed clearly from the corporate side to the higher education and to government as well. And that's what we're trying to do as like a stepping stone with Leeds as well. So do this first mapping, create awareness of, or at least give a north to different stakeholders and what are the topics that will be in most demand, so they can start that planning, before those bottlenecks become worse. And just one last point on what Gonzalo said. I mean, we're looking, we have a more limited scope at Leeds in terms of the advanced skills, the nitty-gritty of the hard technical skills that need to be developed. But the soft skill side, the human skill side is equally important. And I think the industry has to look at equally as to develop the skills compared to technical skills as well.
So thanks, Leonardo. Gonzalo, so yeah, how do, like, your concern is really like about mapping those future digital skills, so that, like, obviously if we don't know what's coming, then it's very unlikely for institution like us to be able to provide the industry with those skills, because they haven't been defined yet. So that, I guess it is a two-step approach, as you mentioned. Define what is the future holding, and then engage with government, institution, and other to avoid that bottleneck. Gonzalo, how do you go about fulfilling this gap possibly that you may have or may not in advanced digital skills and soft skills, as you pointed out?
Yeah, I have a lot of things in my head right now to answer and to comment from other colleagues, that let's try to be very, very short on my topics. I guess regarding the mismatch between the academia and the enterprise, I have a confusion myself, because if I see and I have been reading all last days regarding all the reports and other and that companies that already did part of this analysis, I have seen, and the theory said that there is a big mismatch between on the reality, but honestly, I am not feeling that it's a huge problem. And Kieran said something related to the cybersecurity around the 80% or the 20%. But I guess it's very important to say that there could be like two mismatch. One is the qualitative, so the capabilities are not exactly as the needs from the companies. That's something that we are talking about. But there is also another one that I guess is also important, is regarding the quantitative. At least in Spain, at least in our sector, there is a pressure on retain and to acquire the talent that is incredible. And we are fighting all the companies each other in order to retain or to steal, if I may, the talent from other companies. And I guess these are the two sides of the coin. I guess that right now we are focusing on the first one. And if I see in the theory, I was reading this weekend a report called Bridging the Gap from Randstad, and it said that in 2050 there's going to be a whole of 35 million slots for available workers due to this mismatch, both of them. And if I see the theory about what is this gap came from, they say that there is a lack of interaction between academia and enterprise that I honestly I'm going to share some examples between about what on my case we are doing. I think it's not like that. It's not a lack. Everything could be improved. Everything there is a lot of enhancement, but there isn't a lack of communication between academia and enterprise. Also, in this report, said that the teachers from university has less exposure in the enterprise, in the industry. Also, a lack of auto evaluation from universities and enterprise once the students arrive to the company. Why don't we have at least maybe in 3 months when they join the company? Why don't we make an auto evaluation? Why don't university and our companies help you to understand about this specific gap? That would be the best source of that. And maybe from the first point that they say, maybe this is the one that I think that is something that we could do for our side in order to make our own test about the knowledge that they have when they join the companies after 2 or 3 months, and also that industry is not participating in the curricula, in the development of the subjects. And the other three, the third one regarding the auto evaluation of the students when they arrive to the company, maybe that's one I agree. The other ones, sorry, but I am not agree. I think that we are doing great things regarding this mismatch between university and enterprise. And to let you know some of the option or the thing that we are doing with university, not with Polytechnica. I came from a Polytechnica, and I guess it's the university that we are closer to it, but we are working with all the universities at least in Spain, because I am more focused on that area. But for example, we are speakers in a lot of round tables with students in university. We are teachers in subjects in a university. There is a master's degree called Master in Business Administration, focusing consultancy, and I am a teacher in that master degree. And I did that master 10 years ago, and for me it was amazing the experience that I had, because specifically this master degree is focused on filling the gap between the technical perspective that they have, or we have at the university, with the most business and service and customer oriented that we need from companies. So that's a specific solution that we created in the Spanish Association of consultancy with Polytechnica of Madrid, in order to have this gap. We have, for example, with 10 universities in Spain, we have 2 awards with most of them. One for the best end of degree project, and so we are working with university in order to award the best project at the end of the career, and also for the best academic record. So we are close to them, and as I said, there is a talent acquisition war in the companies, and if we need to be closer to the students before they end university, we are going to that position. So the war, I guess that the issue is that the war is going to start sooner than when they go out of the university. It's very familiar. We do a lot of internship in the company, and it's not internship for people at the university. Now we are starting to do some kind of internship. It's lighter one from people in the last year of the school, and in order to try to motivate them with this IT career or IT projects, and also trying to do some divulgation. This meeting could be one of them, and also working in specific papers in order to be closer to university and to close this mismatch between the gap. But honestly, I guess that is harder, the gap that we have to acquire the best talent because of the number and because of the war that we have in the sector, that because of the capabilities. I guess that university now are closer to us and to the reality. Is obviously that we need to improve a little bit, and it's hard to obtain and to be closer to the reality, because reality starts tomorrow. And for example, that's I was thinking about a big thing, a keyword right now that all of us are talking, and Kieran could tell us more about that, but about ChatGPT. Now it's trending topic. Everybody, all our clients want to have ChatGPT projects. We are looking for people knowing how to work with ChatGPT. It's crazy. But 2 years ago or 3 years ago was with blockchain. And in 2 months, there's going to be a new keyword, a new technology. Obviously, it's not zero is not born from scratch. ChatGPT is based on artificial intelligence, so we are working on that. But every period of time, there is a very new things that we need to. That's why, and I said it during my first exposition, we need to invest in innovation because things are going like that, and we need to be closer to innovation technology in order to be closer to our client needs.
Just very briefly, if I might make a point in relation to ChatGPT, I'm glad you brought it up, Gonzalo. I just a couple of observations around it. I've worked in the IT industry for over 32 years now. I have never in my life seen as much focus on one particular technology, as much advancement in one particular technology at such a rate of development as ChatGPT over the last 6 or so months. I mean, I had an email from a colleague of mine, and it was OpenAI weekend update, right? About new stuff that has happened in OpenAI since Friday when we were talking to someone about it. It's amazing. And I think I'm going to be a little bit controversial. I mean, I think OpenAI is going to stick around for a little bit longer than maybe, you know, a couple of months. It's going to do tremendous things, but you're right in the sense that there will be something new that will come along after it. There always is. But for the moment, ChatGPT or OpenAI is almost the only show in town, and it's already giving rise to new skills of which there is a huge lack of supply, like prompt engineering. I'd never heard of it until about 2 months ago, right? It's a new technical skill required if you want to get the most out of ChatGPT. I've just bought 2 books on it from Amazon because I know nothing about it. So that's something that, you know, data science probably took a while to develop as a new discipline, but prompt engineering was a new one on me. And this is a challenge in the industry, I think, in terms of developing programs to develop skills to address industry needs. And there are 2 dimensions to it. One is the speed with which new technologies are coming along and developing, and how can you educate for that or develop training for that. And the second is the ephemeral nature sometimes of these skills, you know, because something may be in vogue or in demand for a short period of time, and then a year later, it's probably not such a big deal. And actually, I think blockchain is a great example of that, right? Yep. You know, 2-3 years ago, everything was going to be built around blockchain. And now, yeah, it's still there, but, you know, it's on life support almost. I'm being a little bit facetious, but you don't hear it talked about as much as...
I guess that is not going to happen with ChatGPT. I guess that the blockchain, I had a boss that was called him Bluff Chain because it was like a bluff. It's not a bluff, obviously it's not a bluff. But with ChatGPT, I guess it's not going to happen like that. ChatGPT is going to change a lot how we are working. For example, ChatGPT was the first keyword, but right now in the last 2 weeks, and I am obsessed with that. I want to try as soon as possible. So Kieran, if you can help me, I will appreciate Microsoft Copilot. It's incredible. So if you join ChatGPT with the Office, with Microsoft 365, so it's amazing. It's amazing. So I will ask for next Christmas. I will ask to test Microsoft Copilot because it's incredible. Actually, I was thinking while you were talking about the fast that these things are going. I was with your colleagues in Seattle in the headquarters. I was organizing, because I am in charge of the alliances for my company, and I was in charge of the preparation of the executive briefing center. So I went there 2-3 days with your colleagues. I bring some of the board of directors from my company, and we, after 2 full days talking with them, we didn't spoke about ChatGPT. And 4 months later, it's the keyword. And if we go right now to Seattle, I am pretty sure that it will be part of the key things that we will expose. And it's amazing how fast this is going, because the agenda changed in 3 months as like that. So it's incredible.
Yeah, so thank you guys. And if a further illustration that OpenAI is the topic of conversation, I think you rightly illustrated that it's on the top of the mind of everyone. And yeah, I speak about it all the time myself. But let's try to come back to the topic that we are here for, which is really about like talking about the extent to which industry and academics, if you want, or training institution can actually work together to improve the offering. It was very interesting what you were saying about the fact that you don't think that there is an issue with the qualitative aspect, and that there is kind of like a good level of industry slash academia engagement or communication, and therefore the skills are more or less covered. But it was more an aspect of quantitative, and that you need more skills in certain area, and they are just not being provided, or more people more than skills actually. But on that, actually, I'd like to bring like our third speaker, Juan Jose Moreno, and maybe can explain the extent to which industry and academia can use a framework to work together, and then we can build in on the example. I don't know if Juan is with us there. I understand I don't see him on the screen.
Yeah. Juanjo is here.
Yeah, well, we don't see him.
No?
Well, because whoever, that's it. Yeah, that's it. Because whoever is talking is going to be on the screen. So since I think it is your phone, your microphone is on, you appear and then we don't see Juan. So Juan, what's your experience of building framework like this, both with UMP, and I believe you were also involved with Higher Education Authority in Spain. So just like the big picture of what's the best mechanism to engage those two constituents together.
Yeah, well, it's funny because I think that Leo mentioned that there are some companies that are not planning the future, and I think this is exactly the same in the university. So we need to plan the future. We need to plan not just what we are teaching now, what we will teach in the future, and which professor we need, and so on. So we need to have some strategic plan about what we want to reach in some years. Not only about teaching, also about the research, about technology transfer, and so on. So, and probably we discovered that the goal we have in mind, we cannot do it by ourselves. We have not enough element to do this. We need a cooperation on industry or research center, or maybe even vocational centers, whatever. So probably we need cooperation, not probably. I'm pretty sure that we need cooperation between industry, but also with other universities and other research centers. So this is what I think that one important point for universities and for computer science department in particular is to have some plan for the future. Sometimes the people say you need an advisory board. Of course, we can use an advisory board with universities or research centers, but they need to advise something. The advisory board needs to advise something, a plan for the future, a plan with measures where we are now, we want to be. And in this sense, we need to make some of these long-term agreements or long-term cooperation with companies in our environment, or even outside of our environment, but probably with the companies that are receiving most of our students. This is what we really want to do. It is not always true. I mean, probably we are cooperating in more in less ambitious situations. We should have some agreement for 2, 3, 5 projects, or to have some history of cooperation in projects, or even in preparing something in particular, or we have an industry chair. It is something that is very often in our university to have these industry chairs here. But well, all this will prepare to this cooperation. So 2 words for this: be strategic and plan to cooperate with others. For me, is what we need to do it for the future.
Okay, I guess an interesting insight is coming from that conversation already, is that basically, I mean, 2 key insights, if I kind of try to summarize across like the conversation. The first one is the fact that industry and academics and training institution, if you want, are collaborating one way or another through different mechanism, advisory board, as one just mentioned, training program, more like internship, guest speakers like Gonzalo mentioned, and so forth and so on. And to bounce back, there doesn't seem to be a big issue with the quality of the skill and the people provided. But one of the key problem maybe has to do with, as we mentioned, two things: the future and whether or not the current skills are going to fade in the future. So in other words, you mentioned blockchain. Okay, blockchain, if we had advised all of our undergrad to study blockchain, well, maybe we will be sending them into a dead end if they were to come in mass. If tomorrow we go into prompt engineering and how to use ChatGPT, well, that might be good, but in 6 months from now, there may be another technology that makes this job, irrelevant. And then so that's this. And then what are the skills that are going to be needed? So there's that aspect. But I guess the only things that we can address and look at is the idea of mass and the extent to which we can get more people. And I'm going to bounce back then on a question that was in the chat there about, kind of like enticing students in doing at least those primary degree in computer science or in math and those type of things. And maybe Kieran, you want to explain some of the initiative that that Microsoft has had to try to increase the volume of students in some of those areas by influencing their choice at not at undergrad level even, if I understand correctly, more at like high school level. So maybe you want to touch on this, and I'll ask the panel to develop some idea as to how we can increase the quantity then rather than the quality of the student.
Thank you, Laurent. Yeah, it's a good point. I've just put a link in the chat window for a thing called Dream Space. This was an initiative that we instigated in Microsoft in Ireland just about 5 years ago, and it was spun up to address the challenge of probably not enough focus being put on STEM in schools. So it was very early on.
Maybe you need to, this is an acronym that you might need to, to explain for non-native English.
Oh, okay, sorry, my apologies. I'm so used to the lingo. So STEM is science, technology, engineering, mathematics, right? So the so-called STEM subjects, sometimes also called STEAM subjects with the A for arts that's in there as well. And it's important to get that balance. But certainly in the school system in Ireland, there probably was not as much focus being put into when students were selecting their subjects in their teenage years, either with the Irish version of the baccalaureate, which would be the Leaving Cert, for example, probably, not a huge amount or not a huge quality of teaching in some instances as well around encouraging people into careers in engineering or science or technology. And we decided we would stand up a program to address that early, to expose and educate kids of all ages at primary school level from age 4 plus right up to their late teenage years, and give them an opportunity to see and learn a little bit more about the world of STEM and science and technology, and to dabble with it. So when we opened a new office here in Microsoft about 5 years ago, we put a bespoke learning center in on the ground floor. We bring in two classes from schools every single day, generally a primary school class in the morning and a post-primary school class in the afternoon. We have the center staffed by 3 full-time school teachers. They've all stepped out of being professional teachers and come over to work in Microsoft as professional teachers. And we now have a range of other kind of peripheral programs around that, where we have something called Dream Space TV, which was launched when the pandemic kicked in to give us much broader reach. We have a whole set of programs developed for teacher education around STEM, because one challenge was kids not being aware enough or engaged enough in STEM technologies. And perhaps, and often was the case, sometimes that was because the teachers weren't confident enough to teach in this area. So we have a fairly significant Dream Space program for continuing professional development for teaching in this environment. It has worked really, really well. We've been operating it for 5 years. We have probably engaged with about 500,000 school kids in Ireland over that period. We've set a new target of 1 million school kids to be to have the opportunity to enjoy the program over the next few years. We've actually almost franchised this model out across other Microsoft subsidiaries. A Dream Space has just recently opened in Bulgaria, and we're in talks with another one in the Iberian Peninsula at the moment as well. So it's been hugely successful for us and has given an opportunity for kids that ordinarily, there's a bit of a joke in Ireland sometimes that Ireland is very good at reinventing themselves. And the school system is good at reinventing kids in the image of their parents. So if you've got smart kids, and there was a parental focus on education, in many cases, you know, if kids were smart, they were encouraged to study medicine or study law or become an accountant or something like that, and less emphasis put on science and technology. What we've tried to do is disrupt that, and I think we started to do it pretty well. So yeah, I think it's important to get in early, Laurent, and try to give people better insights into the breadth of opportunities that are out there for them.
Thanks, thanks, Kieran. I'm amazed. Like, we didn't see the time pass by, but it's already 1:30, and so we said we would do it in 1 hour and 30 minutes. So we're getting very close to the end. I want to jump on just what you said very quickly. Does anybody else has any opinion or ideas in terms of addressing this this quantitative issue? So I guess like what we've developed here with Kieran is, well, let's drive more people towards the STEMs, towards computer science, you know, and so starts at undergrad, and so the pool of, you know, of people that we can then train on those advanced digital skills becomes bigger, and therefore we can have an impact there. I don't know if there's any initiative that you might other speaker might want to share with, or any last comment before we wrap it up together. I don't know, Gonzalo, Juan, or Leo, you have you know, something you'd like to add? No, you guys okay? Gonzalo, okay?
More than okay.
Okay, well, listen, there's 2 minutes left, so I basically want to thank you all for your participation. It is a little bit frustrating because it feels like we're just about to start in that conversation. So I think we might, I don't know if we will re-invite you, but certainly there is room for it. It was the first workshop, so I think we had a very good overview of what are the issues, different perspective on what is our project that leads, what are the needs from the industry, from Leo, what are the needs, you know, from Gonzalo and Kieran. You also clearly expressed this, and starting to touch on the mechanism on how to bridge those gaps. But I think it has been great in terms of insight, because it makes us realize that maybe some of the issues that we thought were the most important may not be the one that are the most crucial to address. So it's going to be important for us to shape the future of our workshop, you know, maybe focusing more about future industry need as opposed to current industry need, focusing on quantitative aspect rather than qualitative, just to give those two examples as two things that strikes me as like one of the key insights that were revealed by this workshop. So I want to thank everyone. We're going to stop the recording. Ernestina and Anna, I hope you have the recording and we can